The story opens with Donald Trump stepping onto a grand stage, surrounded by American flags and a sea of flashing cameras. The atmosphere is electric, filled with anticipation as he prepares to unveil his highly discussed plan on Gaza. With his characteristic confidence, he announces a comprehensive 20-point agenda, one that he claims will redefine America's role in the Middle East. His voice is sharp and deliberate, carrying a sense of authority as he declares that the United States will no longer sit on the sidelines but will actively shape the future of this long-standing conflict. As he speaks, his words travel far beyond the walls of the hall. In Washington, lawmakers begin dissecting the implications, debating whether his vision is realistic or overly ambitious. In Tel Aviv, leaders pay close attention, eager to see how his promises might affect Israel's security and its fragile political landscape. Meanwhile, in the crowded streets of Gaza, his announcement spreads quickly, stirring mixed emotions of hope and skepticism among the people who live under daily hardship. Trump frames his agenda as a balance between protecting America's strategic interests and addressing humanitarian needs. He insists that his approach is not just about politics but about ending suffering and preventing future violence. He calls it a plan of peace with strength, suggesting that true stability can only come when both security and compassion are prioritized. The moment is dramatic, leaving the world divided yet intrigued, wondering whether his bold words will transform into lasting change. Trump's agenda moves into its second and most forceful theme, security. Standing tall, he insists that peace cannot exist without safety. He stresses Israel's right to defend itself, promising to provide advanced military technology, stronger intelligence sharing, and unwavering American support. His words draw applause from his supporters, who see him as a leader willing to take a firm stand in a region plagued by uncertainty. At the same time, Trump sets his focus on Gaza, making it clear that Hamas must be disarmed if real negotiations are to succeed. He calls for strict measures to prevent the smuggling of weapons through underground tunnels and across borders. His tone is direct and uncompromising, leaving no doubt that security is the foundation of his 20-point vision. The reaction to his statements spreads quickly. In Israel, leaders nod with approval, encouraged by the promise of stronger defense cooperation. In Gaza, however, skepticism rises. Many fear that the heavy emphasis on disarmament could overshadow humanitarian concerns. Critics argue that tightening restrictions may worsen daily life for civilians already struggling under blockades. Despite the division, Trump's position is clear. He presents himself as a dealmaker who understands that lasting peace can only be built on the solid ground of security. To him, protecting lives from terror is not a choice but a necessity, and he believes this tough stance will eventually open the door to meaningful dialogue. The message resonates: before peace, there must be safety. Trump then shifts his focus from military strength to the human cost of the conflict. His tone softens as he speaks of the families in Gaza who live under constant hardship, children without proper schools, hospitals overwhelmed, and neighborhoods left in ruins. He emphasizes that his agenda is not only about securing borders but also about improving lives. In his words, true peace cannot exist while innocent people suffer daily. He proposes a wide humanitarian initiative, including international aid programs to rebuild schools, restore hospitals, and provide reliable access to electricity and clean water. He highlights the idea of creating safe zones where civilians can live without fear of bombardment, insisting that the people of Gaza deserve more than war and despair. His plan also calls on Arab allies to contribute resources, making reconstruction a shared responsibility rather than an American burden alone. Images of hope mix with doubt as his message spreads. Some in Gaza see a glimmer of possibility, believing that a focus on education and healthcare might finally give their children a chance at a better future. Others remain skeptical, questioning whether these promises will ever be fulfilled or if they are merely political gestures. Trump frames his humanitarian agenda as proof that America can be both powerful and compassionate. He presents himself not only as a negotiator but as someone capable of offering relief to those who have long been ignored. For the first time, his speech carries a sense of empathy, aiming to win hearts as well as minds. Trump's agenda then turns to the political dimension, where the challenge becomes even more complex. He addresses the need for new negotiations, but under firm U.S. leadership, declaring that America must guide the talks if there is to be any real progress. His conditions, however, are strict and controversial. He demands that Palestinian leaders formally recognize Israel as a Jewish state, presenting this as a non-negotiable step toward peace. At the same time, he calls on Israel to pause settlement expansion in certain contested areas, framing it as a gesture of goodwill to move the process forward. The announcement sparks intense reactions in diplomatic circles. In packed conference halls, ambassadors and negotiators debate whether Trump's demands are balanced or tilted too far in one direction. Some applaud the boldness of requiring accountability from both sides, seeing it as a rare push for compromise. Others argue that the terms are unrealistic, warning that such political pressure could deepen mistrust rather than resolve it. For Palestinians, the recognition of Israel under Trump's terms feels like a heavy burden, raising fears of losing ground on their aspirations for statehood. For Israel, the call to halt settlement growth is met with cautious silence, as leaders weigh the benefits of U.S. backing against domestic political pressure. Trump, however, remains unmoved by criticism. He positions himself as the only leader willing to confront both sides with hard truths. To him, political pressure is not an obstacle but a necessary step toward the historic deal he promises to deliver. As Trump concludes his agenda, the stage widens to the global stage where reactions ripple across continents. In Gaza, ordinary families listen with mixed emotions. Some cling to the hope of promised aid and reconstruction, while others reject the conditions placed upon them, fearing that their voices will be overshadowed by political bargains. In Israel, leaders welcome the strong security guarantees but tread carefully around the proposed settlement pauses, aware of the political challenges they face at home. Around the world, the plan dominates headlines. In the United Nations, heated debates erupt as diplomats argue whether Trump's 20 points represent a genuine path to peace or a strategy that favors one side too heavily. European leaders call for balance, Arab states hesitate to commit, and analysts question whether the ambitious plan is realistic in a region scarred by decades of distrust. The media captures Trump's closing words, "This is the deal of the century, peace through strength." His image fills screens worldwide, confident and unshaken, presenting himself as the man determined to solve one of the world's most intractable conflicts. Yet, as the applause fades, uncertainty lingers. Supporters see a leader willing to act decisively where others have failed, while critics warn that bold speeches do not guarantee lasting solutions. The story ends with a question hanging in the air, echoing across Washington, Tel Aviv, and Gaza alike: will Trump's 20-point agenda truly bring peace to the region, or will it only deepen the divide that has lasted for generations?